From the Teddy Belanger studio in Rowe, New York, welcome into episode 83 of the Avetts and Beyond. My name's Todd Emanuele. We had Ryan Boyles, and my special guest for this week, on for I think like his 10th appearance, something like that.
Yeah.
Dan Zlotnick is here. Dan, thanks for coming back on.
Thanks for having me, Todd and Ryan. It's great to be here in the Teddy Belanger studios.
I love Teddy Belanger. He's the best. Did you hear that whole story?
I did last time, on my 9th appearance on the.
Oh, that's right.
Yeah.
I forget.
It's like Steve Martin, it's like I'm like a cast member now.
Yeah, you need that jacket. We talked about that. You needed that special jacket or something. Yeah. It's been on so many times, like exactly. The SNL thing. So you've been up to some stuff. You see behind me, there's a little picture.
Yeah, there she is.
Christmas Eve for Mrs. Claus, the best Christmas song ever written.
Agreed.
You're rivaling Mariah Carey for that top spot, and what's his name there? Bing Crosby. Almost forgot his name. How can I forget that? So you're right up there already with all the streams and all that. Tell me about the song.
So it's funny. This is a totally, obviously, a different song for me. First of all, I'm Jewish, so right. Christmas music I'm relatively new to.
You must have heard it at some point in your life.
Well, I've always appreciated Christmas music, but I started getting these gigs kind of like in the last 3 or 4 years where I'd be like, I got to play a Christmas party and it's a 4-hour party. And I'm going, okay, well, how many times can I play Blue Christmas or Let It Snow or Winter Wonderland? And so I started thinking, okay, maybe I could, just kind of make something up. And I found this text that I sent to Melissa one day, my wife, and it was like, Melissa, I just came up with the best idea for a Christmas song. It's what does Mrs. Claus do when she's home alone? Because for me, any of my songs are about characters, and Mrs. Claus seems like a character that has just been left out of Christmas and at least in terms of being a main character. Like she's a strong, powerful woman, and she deserved to have a little time of her own. So I went through a few different options of what Mrs. Claus could be doing by herself on Christmas Eve. And I think I kind of found the sweet spot of her finding a little trouble, being a little bit, just finding a little unwinding time. And then, of course, from my experience, eating Chinese food. That was the most important part.
Of course.
Yes.
What else would you do on Christmas Eve? I love it. The song's great, by the way. It took a long time. Like I tried to get you to play it for me last time you were on the show. I remember you're like, no.
Well, yeah, no, you got to build the buzz. You can't.
It was way too early in the season. You had to reveal it.
And some people are saying, "Oh, you released it on November 1st. That's too early." But I was in Lowe's and CVS, and it's like the Christmas stuff is out already. So.
It's been Christmas in Lowe's since like August, I think.
Yeah. So why not? Let's get it going.
I'm gonna go on a limb and say that this is the right way to go ahead and transition our mindsets from the doom and gloom of October and Halloween.
Yes, exactly. And that's so like, the fact that Halloween was on a Thursday and then November 1st, which I have been told is the new start of the Christmas season, was a Friday, which is like the traditional release, not traditional, but more recent release a streaming song. I was like, all right, it worked out too perfectly. I'm going to be busy. I'm going to be full on Black Friday after Thanksgiving. So I might as well do this while I have some energy to kind of get some promotion out.
Nice. My wife is not a big early Christmas person, but for some reason this year, the day after Halloween, she's like all into Christmas and stuff. So the song, like, it was perfect timing for her to listen to it too.
Maybe it's the song that caused that. Who knows?
Okay, sure. Yeah, we'll go with that. I'll give you credit for that one. That was not a convincing thing for me there to say that, but it was. It's great. I absolutely love it. How's it doing on the streaming services right now?
It's great. It's funny. I was looking at my streaming numbers, which is always just a bad idea. There's never that's like even like it's been great. Like my numbers have I don't know what it's like 7 times what it was in just like about a week. Still not huge numbers, not like in the hundreds of thousands or anything, but it's just crazy to see that. And I don't know where that's coming from. I can go into my Spotify for artists app and kind of dig around and see what's happening. But I think
can you see where people are downloading it from and stuff in there?
Yeah, for the most part. Yeah,
that's cool.
I get kind of like a city breakdown. There was someone, and the other thing is I have the Yankees theme song for the Talking Yanks podcast.
Right.
And because the Yankees were in the World Series, some people from the Yankees Twitter community were sharing that out. So I don't know exactly what's coming from Mrs. Claus and what's from Talking Yanks, but my more unserious songs are getting a little more attention, which makes a lot of sense in a stressful, election season.
That's all good, man. Any publicity is good publicity, right? Isn't that what they say? And
Agreed.
Ryan's not a big baseball guy. But having the song come out on Friday, November 1st, after the Yankees lost the World Series, was probably good for you too.
Well, yeah, I was doing a release party at this place, the Barley Beach House in Rye, New York, and I was like, well, this is Game 6. Like if we get to Game 6, I'm like, I want to be watching the game, not playing a show. So it kind of worked out where people were done with baseball and got to kind of just relax and
so you were sweating during Game 5 up to the 5th inning.
Yeah.
Like, man, I'm gonna miss it. There's definitely gonna be a Game 6. Yep. The Yankees are cruising, and then that 5th inning happened, and woof.
After that 5th inning, I hate to say it, I kind of was like, these Yankees, if you're gonna have an inning like this, you don't deserve to win the World Series. So you might as well lose now and let me have my release party.
I had the same thought minus the release party.
Yeah.
Like that was the single worst half inning of baseball I've ever seen in my life. And I've watched a lot of baseball. It was awful.
Yeah. It was but anyway. That's what happens when you have a song like Christmas Eve for Mrs. Claus. The magic of Christmas makes errors happen that would never happen in Yankee games so that we can get more attention to the song. That's
Anthony Rizzo, he liked that song so much. He heard an early release of it that he just didn't want to get to first base, and Garrett Cole the same. He didn't want to get there.
He was humming it in his head. That's
right. He got lost on his way over there and stopped. Anyway, Ryan's like, what is going on here right now? We're talking sports ball. So the song, can you play it for us? Can you do that right now while we're talking about it?
I've got my Wilson Soundcraft signature model guitar here.
Nice.
This is what I recorded it on. Just to tell you a little bit about the recording, this is not the usual Dan Zlotnick band that is in most of my recordings. There's a studio in Irvington, New York called the Coop Studio, and they hired a session band for the day, which is usually an expensive day if you're paying 4 musicians. But I only had an hour slot, and then another songwriter would come in and use that band and record a song. And I thought this was a perfect way to do this for like a Christmas song. It's not the same sound I'm going for, but I showed up, and then John Cobert, who's my usual keyboard player, was the keyboard player for the
no
band.
kidding.
So he was on it, and then came home, added a bunch of overdubs, all that stuff. But there's an awesome session band. Matt Graff on the drums, Chogi Marco on guitar. He does the guitar solo. It's like crazy. I let someone else play a guitar solo on one of my songs.
That's what I was just gonna say.
And then Noam Tansner on bass too, which is super
very cool. Very cool.
Here we go.
This is the solo version.
This is the solo version. It's a true story too. So. 'Twas a cold Christmas Eve. All the elves had gone home. Santa had packed up his sleigh. Mrs. Claus pet the reindeer and kissed Nick's jolly nose. And the crew went dashing away. 1, 2, 3, so she ripped off her itchy, ugly Christmas sweater, grabbed a bottle of red from the underground cellar. She took out her button for the first time in ages, made some prank calls from her yellow pages. It's Christmas Eve for Mrs. Claus, Christmas Eve for Mrs. Claus. Anything is possible, and that's because it's Christmas Eve for Mrs. Claus. Well, she danced in the kitchen to Megan the Stallion. She Googled the difference between tribes and scallions. She ordered Chinese from the place down the river. It's Christmas Eve, and who else would deliver on Christmas Eve for Mrs. Claus? Christmas Eve for Mrs. Claus. She'll have 8 egg rolls with extra duck sauce on Christmas Eve for Mrs. Claus. She had a box of firecrackers that she lit in the driveway, went streaking through the town singing Frank Sinatra's My Way. Right as she ran past the folks at the diner, she slipped on the ice and got a bruise on her hinder. It's Christmas Eve for Mrs. Claus. Christmas Eve for Mrs. Claus. See how far she can bend the laws on Christmas Eve for Mrs. Claus. 12 hours later, she awoke on the couch to a cozy, warm, fuzzy, wet smooch on the mouth. She thought it was Santa, but he was in the kitchen. This wouldn't be the first time she made out with Blitzen. How was your night, Santa asked over eggs, and Mrs. Claus remembered all the scrapes on her legs. She said, I had some fun and the limits were tested, but at least this year I didn't get arrested. Ho, 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 ho. It's Christmas Eve for Mrs. Claus. Christmas Eve for Mrs. Claus. See how far she can bend the laws. Christmas Eve for Mrs. Claus. It's Christmas Eve for Mrs. Claus. Christmas Eve for Mrs. Claus. Anything is possible, and that's because it's Christmas Eve for Mrs. Claus.
Love it.
Thank you very much. I'm just checking out of the corner of my eye. This is Cora's sleeping right now, but she's that's her favorite song ever.
I was going to ask you, how does she react to that song? Is she excited now for Christmas, or
when that song comes on, she like lights up and starts laughing. She goes ho ho ho, because in the recorded version there's a good old Santa laugh at the end. And she dances, and we've used it like for months since even like the rough draft was recorded. We've used it to keep her awake when we're on our way home and we need her to get home before nap time. So we've been playing it for almost like 6 or 7 months at this point.
That's crazy. So were you nervous playing it right now that you'd wake her up because she?
Yeah, I was. I was kind of like nervous, but also like nervous that I'm on a podcast and Melissa's gonna have to go deal with
that. Yeah, you don't want to do that. Yeah. So has Megan Thee Stallion reached out to you yet for you mentioning her in the song?
No, but I'm waiting. I think it's right around the corner. I keep thinking too, it'd be fun if she wanted to maybe add a verse in the middle there, kind of like break it down.
So Ryan, you had an idea here, right?
I think you're onto something. I think, like, how 90s,
it was all you.
90s songs, like they would have the rap artist come on in the middle, and like instead of in the 80s you had your saxophone solo or what have you, but in the 90s they would bring in the rap artist on a rock song to like do a little interlude. I think the Megan Thee Stallion interlude on Mrs. Claus could be interesting.
I think it would be perfect. Yeah, and so if anybody out there knows Megan Thee Stallion,
we're gonna tag her. We're gonna tag her or something.
Okay, yeah, so you're making me want to do something also very nostalgic. I think that's what Christmas music does for us in general, or any kind of holiday, traditions. You start thinking about years gone by and what you do. I had this is making me think of, I had a tradition, if you'll bear with me for a minute. Do y'all remember CDs and mixtapes and like burning CDRs and stuff like that? I got into this thing starting in like 2002. And this was when my son was 2 years old, I guess. He was born in 2000. I started making Christmas mixtapes essentially, because we would buy all the Christmas albums, soul album, the country album, the whatever, like all kinds of different Christmas music. And then I would create these mixtapes every year. And then, I'm handing out bootleg CDRs that I would like print out labels, and like it became a thing when at that time, there was Will Ferrell was doing that Santa on SNL, and I would put that on the label and like make, anyhow, it takes me back to that, because I think this song would be perfect if I could license it for this year's bootleg. I might want to do that.
Thank you. Yeah. No, but please add it to your Spotify playlist.
Oh yeah, yeah, that's a good idea.
But like you were saying, Ryan, too, like
so I was very at the time. I was very much thinking that like people like to get a thing that somebody made, and that they could hold in their hand. So I was very resistant to like iTunes and all that stuff back in the day. But now, yes, I think we're just trading Spotify links or something. So
yeah, and that's funny. My merch for this song, and I should have brought some in to show you, but I have ornaments that have
that's perfect.
Mrs. Claus logo on the front. On the back is the QR code to stream it. So it's hanging on your tree. You can, snap the QR code and it'll take you right to all the iTunes and Spotify.
It's going straight to your store right now.
And I also have coasters that I've been passing out at my gigs, so that the people drinking there can just be staring at Mrs. Claus at the bottom of their beer bottles. That was not my idea. That was not my idea.
I just got to compliment you, because I think you're a triple threat. You're a talented songwriter, lyricist. You're obviously a great musician, but you're a marketing machine. I don't know how you keep up with it.
Thank you. I have had help though, and this is actually the first time that I hired a publicist for some help with this, and she's amazing and has helped connect me with some newspapers, some online magazines, some, that whole stuff. And then she had the coaster idea. I was like, bring them to your gigs, because the restaurants where I play, and this is, I know Todd and I have talked about this before. It's like, I want to get out in front of people, and that's where I make the most impression. And so, having that stuff in those restaurants where I have those connections already is like,
it's cool. I like that.
Now, you're not allowed to leave without listening to the song.
Is your publicist like reaching out to radio stations and stuff too? Because
a little bit, yeah.
Like so many stations play Christmas music. Why? Yeah, easily add this into the rotation.
My publisher has helped with that too. They got me on some, I forget what it's called, but it's like a 24/7 Christmas station that the guy who runs it really liked the song and threw it in the rotation. So yeah, anywhere that people can hear it is I'm very grateful for.
Yeah, the station I worked at for almost 20 years, we played Christmas music every year from the day after Thanksgiving till Christmas Day. Yep. And I totally would bring in my own Christmas music and just play whatever. Because the owner was in her 80s and she went to bed at like 7 o'clock at night. So I could do whatever I wanted. But I always brought in music. So if that station still existed, I would be playing your song.
Well, thank you. And that's part of the reason, like when I did the recording and the overdubs, it's like, I wanted it to sound classic, and even the chords are pretty classic country Christmas. But in the recording, there's the bells, there's the Santa laughing, there's all the stuff that you would think would be in a Christmas song, so it fits in with your normal holiday Christmas favorites.
Very cool. And I will play the recorded version on the show as well, so people are going to get to hear it twice.
Yes,
the live solo version and the album version, the record, whatever you want to call it, the single that's out there. And of course, all your social media, Ryan just put that up there, reminded me. I'm sure they can get links to it on all of your social media and your website. And are you selling that Christmas merch just at shows, or is it something you can go to your website and pick up some of that?
I would say email me and we'll figure out how to get it to you. I haven't sent them to anybody, so I got to figure out what shipping would look like and all that stuff. But
shipping's not cheap these days.
No, it's not. But for a Mrs. Claus ornament,
I gotta get me one of those. That's what I'm saying.
I don't know what, $1,000 for one of those.
I think that's gonna be the VIP DIY gift of the season.
It could be. And
gotta get me one of those.
So at first I was a little hesitant because it's whatever, a minimum of 100 things that you have to order, and I'm going, I don't know if I'm going to sell these, but Christmas happens every year, so I
have to admit something else. So I will. So my wife makes a big deal out of Christmas. We overcompensate by putting up roughly a dozen, maybe 14 Christmas trees in our house, and so they're all decorated with different themes. And we have an Avetts tree now that's literally nothing but stuff like merch from the band that has been converted into ornaments, and there's like the band is selling ornaments. So now that you have your own ornaments, I want to make a nice. I got to get my hands on your stuff so I can put it on there too.
Well, I was just saying, or I get my own tree.
Or you can get your own tree. We got to work up to that. Yeah, we got. Hey,
what's a 15th tree? If it's a Zlotnick, you got to do that.
Baby, look, hey, it's not a problem. We can stop anytime.
Sure, you can. Dan, I got to compliment you when you play a song for the show. I don't know what you do, what your setup is. I think you have different microphones there. The sound is so amazing.
Really?
Normally it's like a struggle on these streaming things to get music to come through and sound good, but you always sound great.
I have all this stuff set up. Like my studio is always set up to go, and I have all my microphones and stuff. I'm not using any of it though. I'm going right through my computer. But it might be just that I have a good Wi-Fi connection, and
that's key. Yeah. Well, I appreciate it. Every single time you've been on and played something, it's been perfect. So
excellent.
Yeah.
Well, then let's not change it. Let's not try. I
thought you were doing something special, but you're not.
Not at all.
All right. So I had Tanya on last week, Tanya Elizabeth from the Avetts Brothers, and her album came out. Yep. And she had the nerve to release her album the same day as Christmas Eve for Mrs. Claus. What's up with that?
Well, and it's funny you say that, because I want to say maybe I didn't announce mine first. maybe she had hers first.
She's been talking about hers for quite a while.
I know, that's true. So so I think it's probably my fault. But I think we're occupying a little bit of a different space there. I think we have some definite overlap in fans, obviously. But her album is much more serious and much more impressive, I think, than my song. My song is a lot of fun and everything, but I listened to her album the day that it came out, and I was blown away. It sounds so good, and I reached out to her to let her know too that I forgave her for overshadowing Christmas Eve for Mrs. Claus, because her album was so good. The writing was so great. Her voice sounded great. Fiddle, guitar, all the above. It was just I really enjoyed it.
Yeah, I've got the vinyl coming to my house from her. It's on its way right now.
The cover art is incredible. Yeah,
love it. I can't wait to get and listen to it on vinyl. It's gonna make it that much better. So your song, is it gonna be out on vinyl?
No, I don't know if they're still pressing 45s or whatever.
They must.
That would be awesome.
That would be so cool if you did that.
That would go nicely paired with the ornaments.
Yeah, or maybe we do like mini vinyl ornaments for your tree.
Well, that's a good idea too.
We got a lot of space on this tree.
Yeah, right. The 15th Boyle's Christmas tree, Zlotnick version. We need the vinyl ornament's a good idea though. That's cool. I like that idea.
It's like a brainstorming session.
We're brainstorming here. This is all good. So let's see. She also talked about Folk Alliance. Now, isn't Folk Alliance, you did that, right? But it was a local version of it, like in New York?
I've done a couple of them. So I did the Folk Alliance International, which is where Tanya is playing and has an official showcase, which is amazing. That one I did in Kansas City. That's where I actually met my publisher and shared my music with them. And that's where I ended up with my publishing deal, which was super cool.
I remember we talked about this. I couldn't remember all the details.
Then I went to the one in New Jersey, which is NERFA, the Northeast Regional Folk Alliance. Right. Okay. And that was great too, just obviously on a smaller scale, because it's not the international, like everyone who ever has played folk music or thought about folk music showing up at this hotel in Kansas City. And then at the end of this month, I'm going to be going up to Maine, Portland, Maine, for NERFA again. It's just in a different location. So hoping to keep the Mrs. Claus stuff going. And that's
the ornaments
right before Thanksgiving, so maybe people will be extra in the mood for some Christmas music.
So the one in Maine you said is like a real small scale version of The other stuff?
I think it's probably about, a fifth of the size. It's a few hundred people, but it's artists and booking agents and house concert hosts and venue owners and radio DJs who all kind of congregate, and there's shows going on, there's seminars, there's networking opportunities. It's a really cool event. It's exhausting, but it's a lot of fun.
Right. And you get to go to Maine. Have you been to Maine before?
I have, yeah. And Portland, Maine, and the family's coming with me, and
oh, nice.
We're gonna, get some lobster rolls and make a whole event out of it.
So what's Dad, speaking of bringing the family with it, what's Dad life been like lately? Is it just getting better and harder?
Yeah, it's getting better and getting more like just absolutely nuts. It's like Cora is running around. I'm looking at her now. No, she's not running now, but she's, going down the slide. She wanted to go to the park today twice. So we went to the park today. She's opening every drawer and is just becoming funnier and more of herself. And it's amazing to see. And it's also it's exhausting. At the end of the day, you go, I can't believe I had like 2 hours to like sit down, and the first hour was cleaning up the mess from this morning, So it's just been great. It's like,
before you know it, she's going to be the age of our kids, and you're going to miss those days when they're little.
Oh yeah.
It's exhausting, but man, it goes by so fast.
Yeah. And that's what's been really special, is to be able to spend every day with her and to really go, wow, like who else gets this time to be with their kid like this?
Not many people.
Very lucky for that. So
that's a great point.
You are extremely lucky for that. And you know what? When she grows up, she's going to remember some of that, not when she was a baby, obviously, but she'll remember that.
Yeah. And then I was talking to a friend about that, about like, why do we take our babies on vacations and all this stuff? It's like, they're not going to remember necessarily the details, but you're cultivating a feeling, and that that they are part of your life, and that you're not, you're not going to slow down or just do things that are easy all the time. There's certainly some of that where you go, oh, it'd be nice if we didn't hang out during nap time, but there's a lot to be said for just bringing her around. I took her to the studio one day. We were just, I wasn't doing much. It was more of a drums and bass were doing their thing. And I was like, yeah, Cora, come sit in the control room with me, run around and press buttons, and hopefully none of them are going to.
Was she like in awe of everything?
In awe. Yeah. She was picking up drumsticks, hitting things, shaking shakers. And yeah, it took her a little while to get comfortable, but it was a lot of fun.
Have you noticed her becoming more musical at all? Because I know she was like singing along with you and stuff like that before.
Oh yeah. Yeah, she's like totally entranced by it. She's just
nice.
Anytime I pick up the guitar, she wants to pick up her ukulele or her little electronic guitar or whatever, and it's like she's singing, she's dancing. It's great.
Man, that is spectacular. That's great. She's gonna be someday. There's gonna be that duet you guys put out.
I know. Well, you know what? I've got a new song that I've been working on that she's got a little bit of a background.
Really?
Part, partly because I wanted it, because I think it's cool and it's topical for the song. Which again, I'm just gonna tease it, and then we're not gonna talk about it until it comes out. But I was recording it here in my home studio with her on my lap. And for like a long time, she was totally cool, like totally just watching me. And then at the end of the song, she just went, ah, and it was a good take. So it's in the recording. So yeah.
Can't wait to hear it. So you won't play that for us now?
No, not yet.
Okay. That's
on my 11th appearance.
Yeah. Something to look forward to. Well, I'll have to mail you the jacket for the 11th appearance.
Yeah.
Man. All right. So what have you been listening to lately other than, Christmas Eve for Mrs. Claus? Because
I've just been listening to my own song on repeat. No, definitely Tanya's album. I have listened to it in its entirety twice now, which is really cool. And then I've been listening to Tom Petty's Wildflowers album quite a bit, and that started from I saw this documentary about how it was recorded with Rick Rubin. This was the first Tom Petty album with Rick Rubin, and just when you listen, especially in headphones, you hear how crisp it is, how it feels like Tom Petty's voice is right next to you. And so because I've been working on that other song that Cora is in, and I've been mixing it, I've been kind of referencing Tom Petty quite a bit, because it's like this, you just put your headphones in and you go, okay, I'm in the room with the band right now. The singer's right on top of me. This is super cool. So I've been kind of going there for enjoyment, but also for the technical kind of side of things.
Yeah. Little inspiration. That's a good place to draw inspiration from too.
Yeah, he's not bad. He's not bad.
He was okay.
I will tell you, like, just not to be too down on it, but like Tom Petty is like, he's on my list of people I really regret never seeing live. I don't know if either one of you saw him, but
same. I missed him.
He's on that list of people that you would love to see live as well.
Yeah, same here. And I'm going to throw my sister under the bus now, because she was at a festival that he was playing, and this was out in California, and it was a long day. He was playing the end of the night, or the end of the festival. They're like, "Oh, we'll see him the next time around." There was no next time. So
yeah, man, he came
to like, go buy those concert tickets. Go to that festival.
Right. I know, that's good advice.
That's the advice. Yeah,
always good advice.
A similar thing happened to me with him too. Like, he came to Syracuse, right near me, where I'm from, and I'm like, I couldn't go. He was right there. I really wanted to go. And it was like, well, we'll go. We'll see. He'll be back. We'll see him next time. And again, there was no next time.
Yeah.
And it was like, dang, that's too bad.
Yeah. But tons and tons of great songs.
Yeah.
It's just, it's like, it's a never ending well too. It's like Wildflowers has got a ton of songs on the album. So it's like, you just go through and you go, oh, well, I like the way the guitars sound in this, or I like the way the drums sound in this one, or, it's pretty cool.
You play me 30 seconds of a Tom Petty song? I know you can play 30 seconds of any song.
Yeah. Well, I won't back down. No, I won't back down. You can stand me up at the gates of hell, but I won't back down. No, I'll stand my ground. I won't be turned around. And I'll keep this world from dragging me down. Gonna stand my ground. And I won't back down. I think that's 30 seconds.
It was about 30 seconds. That's pretty good. Was he timing it? I can't see your screen.
How did I do, Ryan?
You did great. I was trying to hold up a like a lighter, but you can't see it on the screen.
I thought you were trying
like
a timer.
It's like an animated flame.
Oh, look at that!
I was trying to nerd out, and it totally failed. Sorry, but that was wonderful. It was about 27.43 seconds. Yes.
Yeah.
So close, but you failed.
Yeah, Wildflowers.
Yeah, go for it.
You belong among the wildflowers. You belong in a boat out at sea. Sail away, kill off the hours. You belong somewhere you feel free. So that's the one. I actually don't like the way the guitars sound in that one. Sue me, but that one bothers me a little bit. But the rest of the song in that, expertly produced.
Nice.
Yeah.
They can't all be winners.
They can't.
They can't.
Sorry, Tom. Got to bring you back to earth a little bit.
Yeah.
I like this 30 seconds. 30 seconds with Dan Zlotnick. Throw out another song, Ryan. Let's see if we can do it. Something random.
Something random. This is how I started, though. It was like taking requests on the street. And you go.
Well, that's what we talked about with. Let's just talk about that for a sec, because that was something I'm fascinated with Tanya's backstory as well, with busking and how she came up through her childhood doing that sort of stuff. So what stories do you have of that kind of like performing for people when it was before you were even, doing these gigs like you are now?
Yeah. So I was in college at the University of Tampa, and I was not like, I'm like, wasn't really a huge partier, but I would, we'd have people at someone's apartment or even at my roommate's apartment would be the pregame spot, and then people would walk to the bars on South Howard Street, and so, or Howard Ave, whatever. And I would play the guitar, and people were like, "This is sick! Like, you're so good, whatever, you know." And then they would be doing that to me. They'd be yelling, you know, "Play this, play this, play this."
Yeah.
And then they were like, "You should go out in front of like the pizza place on the strip and like go, you know, ask for tips or whatever." So the first thing I ever did was put my case open and, you know, started taking requests and that sort of thing. And then I found myself moving closer to the bars because not everybody was going to get pizza late at night. And it was super late when people were going to get pizza. So I'd go in between these two bars. And at that time, it was like a lot of, you know, hip hop and whatever going. So like I'd be out on the street and I'd be going,
nice. Okay.
You know, and it really did know 30 seconds of like every song.
Right. But that was enough.
Only enough to get the tip.
And then enough to get them jazzed and they probably were gonna walk on. So that's interesting.
Yeah.
So that's what I was gonna ask you. Like, do you then? I was gonna flip the question and say, what were the requests that you would get most often that you hated playing, or can you say that?
Todd knows this.
Wagon wheel.
Still wagon wheel.
Wagon wheel.
Honestly, wagon wheel is not as bad for me because it's like I can do it in my sleep.
Yeah.
But Sweet Home Alabama kind of bothers me. It's just not. I don't connect to the lyrics quite as much as I do with other songs, and then it's just harder for me to sing, and I kind of find it a little bit boring. It's like the same thing over and over. You know,
that's a good answer. Okay.
Do any other Skynyrd songs?
How many times did you get Freebird?
Freebird I can do. You know, Give Me 3 Steps.
Yeah.
So, you know the Ballad of Curtis Lowe?
Ooh.
Yeah.
One of my favorite songs.
Wow.
Well, I used to wake the morning before the rooster crows, searching for soda bottles to give myself some dough. Run down to the corner, down to the country store, pack 'em up and give my money to a man named Curtis Lowe. Play me a song, Curtis Lowe, Curtis Lowe. I've got your drinking money, tune up your dobro. People said he was useless, then people are the fool. 'Cause Curtis Lowe was the finest picker to ever play the blues.
So you said they would ask you for hip hop, or you wanted to do hip hop because that's what would stop people maybe.
Yeah, so like I learned like
what about Ice Ice Baby? Can you do Vanilla Ice?
Ice Ice Baby? I mean, my 30 seconds it would go.
No, right. That's that's okay.
And then they go, okay, I'll give you $1.
I'm only asking that because if you haven't seen the documentary with Vanilla Ice that's out now,
I haven't.
It is incredible.
Yeah.
So anyhow,
what service is it on?
I can't remember, Hulu or Netflix.
I'm gonna have to check that out.
But he talks about what all went into him coming up and doing that stuff he was doing stuff on the street out of his trunk too. So
yeah, no, and then like I say, I got enough tips. I got enough people that kind of would come see me regularly in that one spot on the street. I got a gig in a brunch spot, and from then on, it was off and running.
That's very cool.
Yeah,
very cool. And I said 2024 was going to be the year of Dan Zlotnick, and you've had a good year, but I think 2025 is your year.
Maybe. I don't know. I feel like every year is my year. I get to do what I love for a living. It's pretty cool. And
it is pretty cool what you do.
Yeah. And so like 2025, my goal is to actually kind of pump the brakes on the shows, like not pump the brakes totally, but kind of pull back on some of them, because it's just playing 3 or 4 nights a week, as Core is getting older, it gets harder and harder. But yeah, like, there's my website. It's like some periods of the year get totally nuts, and it can be pretty exhausting. And not just physically, but like, you want to be home, you want to have time with your friends and family. So
I was gonna say it's awesome to be out playing, but at the same time, you got to miss your little girl.
Yes, totally. And get to the point too where she's like waving at the door, going bye. It's like that makes it all that much harder. So
yeah, it makes you want to just say, okay, I'm not going.
Yeah, but I love playing. I love the places that I play, and my regulars that I see. So I can't be too far from them for too long. So it's all good.
Wow. Man, awesome. So the website, danzlotnick.com. Check out all your stuff, music, merch, schedule, whatever. Do you have merch on there? I'm not crazy, right?
Not through my web. It's not set up through my website, but if you just click contact and shoot me an email.
Oh, that's right. You said email.
Happy to figure it out, or DM me. It's like, it's always me. I don't have like an assistant or anything that's answering.
Well, so I will be DMing you tonight to get one of those Mrs. Claus ornaments.
Absolutely, we'll figure out whatever.
I'll trade you some cables for it or something.
There you go.
But Dan, thank you so much, and Megan Thee Stallion, let's do it. Let's do it.
No, I can't wait, Megan. I'm here. I'm ready. I know you're.
Ryan that's a great idea. To have her do that little interlude in there would be perfect.
That'd be fun. Maybe we do the music video.
Let's go.
Perfect.
Throwing it out there.
Perfect. Well, I've had it on repeat. I'm gonna go. You've got it stuck in I'm gonna do a road trip this weekend, so I think it's gonna be in heavy rotation.
Perfect. I love it. Nice. Thank you so much, guys.
So go to any streaming site, get the song, download all your music, get all your stuff on there, and it's just great. Dan, you're so good. You're so amazingly talented. Such a nice guy.
Thank you.
Great family guy, and I love having you on the show. And we'll have you back soon, I'm sure.
Thank you so much, Todd. Appreciate it, and I love being here. So you just let me know. Maybe my next song, the one that has Cora in it, I'll come back.
That's a plan. We will do that, definitely. Dan, thank you so much. Dan Zlotnick, everyone.
Thanks, Todd. Thanks, Ryan. See you guys.
See you soon.